verbal, LOI, contract. That's a spectrum of how serious are you, right? Verbal, we're just kicking things around. LOI, it's not binding, but at least we took out the time to draft a one-page letter. Contract could be, I mean, that's, you're serious, right?
So there's nothing binding with an LOI?
No. With a contract, the difference is it's binding on the seller, so you're in control of the property, but it's not binding on you per se, given you have the outs embedded into it. It's 100% going to depend on the situation. In Florida, I think I alluded to this the other day, in Florida, the gentleman had it under contract, the Bronson property that we did, to sell, and his complaint to me was tire kickers, guys getting cold feet. It was in my best interest to show him I was very serious. Now the flip side to that was I had to fly to Florida, and in a perfect world, he wanted me to fly straight down there. And I'm like, well, dude, I need some assurance that when I get on the plane, by the time I've gotten off it, you haven't sold it to somebody else. Some of that's warm and fuzzies, and could it have come back and bit me? Yes. I ultimately ended up flying down there without an LOI. But I had sent him an LOI, and I had told him, I had given him the choice. This is the best answer to your question, is I want the guy or gal who's going to help me get the deal finished, whether that's the broker or the seller, to tell me what they want. And then I'm going to give it to them, right? So if they want a contract, I would say that. I'd say, I'm willing to do that, but there's a cost involved in attorneys and that sort of thing, especially with this isn't like the residential world when you're going to submit a fully written offer and they're going to come back with a handwritten counter and you're going to sign off and be done. These things can be anywhere from 5 to 45 pages in length. But that can be hashed out after the fact. It doesn't mean that a written contract that gets expanded upon and fine-tuned by the attorneys still doesn't convey a level of seriousness, right? And we have the template. You guys all have a template from which you can start from. Let me just finish with, when they ask for it, I'm going to give them that. The other variable here, relative to how serious are we a tire kicker, are we serious, is proof of funds, right? Or pre-approvals. If you're asked for a pre-approval on a commercial deal like this, you already are the smarter of the two people on the telephone. I promise you, because there's no such thing as a pre-approval on a commercial deal like this. They don't exist. Banks approve the property, not the person. You politely educate them to that fact, and you've quickly role reversaled. You're alpha, you're the leader on the call, and that's the position you want to be in. Not in an arrogant way, right? But in a way that what you're trying to do is impress upon them that you're the guy that's going to get them paid, right? You're helping them succeed. The more confidence they have in your knowledge around the industry, the better. And if that means you proving to them you know more than them, that's okay. Just do it gently. Does that make sense? As far as proof of funds go, it's like these are two toggle switches we're moving back and forth, right? If you're going to be just an LOI, or sometimes it's just an email to kind of hash out some terms, especially if it's seller financing. I think that's kind of where you started with emails back and forth around Warrensburg.
No, that was kind of like the terms were kind of set. I think the first one that I actually had an LOI accepted on.
That's right.
That was more like.
Was that Matt Anthony?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you and I were on that one together.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I was just gonna say. I've lost deals simply for not having a contract.
Yep.
And I could have had a deal if I had the contract because someone else came in during that emailing, talking period.
Yep.
And I've switched to just contracts.
Yeah.
Does your contract have to be state specific or is there?
Yes and no. I mean, I'm always going to use an attorney or an escrow company in the state of the facility. But we start with a template usually. Again, the same answer is, hey, listen, Mr. Broker, I'm absolutely interested in this property. I know I can't offer you asking price. 500 is too much, but as long as you tell me I'm not wasting my time by presenting a realistic offer, I'd be happy to move forward. Should we do that? Yes. Okay, cool. Now, I'm really flexible. I mean, I try to be easy to work with. I have a contract that I can put together pretty quickly and have it over to you tomorrow, but I found that a lot of brokers, right, and notice that's very important, but I found that a lot of brokers, very subtly, I just said, I do this all the time, right? That's what they're hearing from me, as opposed to, I could have said, what would you prefer? Which I'm about to say, but first I said, I do this all the time. I found from a lot of brokers that they prefer to use a templated commercial real estate form, either from the county or the state. Does Georgia have something like that? Right? I've established myself, and then I've said, I'll do whatever's easier for you, man. You just tell me. They're confident in me, and they like me because I made their life easier. Those are the kind of things that get a $450,000 offer from you accepted over a $480,000 from the guy who he's not certain is going to perform, right? So though we all have confidence issues, we need to mask those sometimes, right? We're not being manipulative. We're stepping into who we're going to be. I'm confident here and in every discussion that I have with a broker, despite the fact that it's not an unwavering confidence, right? We all have our moments of doubt, but that's not the story you're telling to the broker or the seller. Does that make sense? One more thing I started to say, and I think I got sidetracked. The difference in how serious we are, verbal, LOI, contract. Also, if I'm going to be doing an LOI because I'm really not confident from our discussions, I'm not ready to spend time or money putting together a 15-page contract. So I'm showing them I'm not as serious yet. I'm not committed. We're still dating here. We're not getting married. But to convince you that I might be the guy you want to marry, here's a screenshot of my bank account with X number of dollars in it. Right? So it's not real proof of funds. Brent, it could have been my bank account Brent sent in, or I could send in Brent's IRA account, right? Like, we're just showing them that, hey, we're serious.
Well, they might not, I haven't been asked in Alabama.
That's what I told Steve yesterday. You'd be surprised I'm asked much less frequently than you would. So you're 21 days into due diligence, and you haven't been asked for proof of funds.